Strong start. Let's introduce our man first. Well, he's not turned on yet, Brian. We'll ask him as well. But we've started a new segment. It's called The Business. Right? We'd spend a lot of hours trying to come up with a name for this segment. We've called it The Business. And you know what we talk about? We talk about business. And the whole idea of this segment, Brian, is to talk about some of the great success stories.
Yes.
Who have just come from really an idea that was just something at some stage, maybe not even an idea, to something that becomes quite the big component on a big, big stage. Without further ado, there is a brimming company who happens to be, if you don't mind, best in the world at the moment. 4 Pillars Gin, a co-founder of 4 Pillars Gin, Matt Jones, joins us live in studio. The Run Home with Joel and Fletch. Jonesy, how are you, mate?
Hey up, lad. How are you, Jonesy?
Oh, my good.
Yeah, there
off
you
go.
G'day, friends. How are you?
Going good.
Tom Jones.
Tom
Big
Jones.
voice. Big voice.
It's not unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would not be unusual to see him on a footy pitch of any type.
Yeah.
And all the women throwing their undies at him.
Could distract the opponents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just
Matt Jones, just on voice, you're clearly not an out-and-out Aussie, but you do sound very Aussie.
Look, I've done my best. I actually grew up in a little island called Cyprus in the Mediterranean. My dad was an engineer.
Oh, wow.
And so I think I started with like this vanilla BBC accent. I went to high school in the UK. My dad's a Welshman. My mum's Irish. Met the Australian girl. Dragged me back to Sydney. Started to layer on an Australian accent. Got the chance to move to New York. That then adds these extra layers. So I'm a mongrel now.
Oh.
Just pick up a bit of everything.
I got a mongrel now. Can I ask? All right, let's do this, Matty. Give us the background of 4 Pillars.
No, before we do that, Brian.
Oh, come on.
No. I want him to set the stage of where we're at right now so people truly know what 4 Pillars Gin is.
What, turnover-wise, revenue-wise?
Just whatever you want to share about where the business is right now. And then, if you don't mind, Matt, let's go back to the very start. Do you mind doing that?
No, that's good. So there is an industry association that governs all of kind of craft distilling in Australia. And they had a big conference last year. There were 600 distillers in that room, and about 300 of them make gin. When we started, there were 20 distillers in that equivalent room, and there were about 10 gin businesses, all small. So that has exploded 50 times the size of this industry of ours. And in the process, we've gone from Australian gin being a little bit of a sort of unloved, unwanted, sort of forgotten thing to really being, I think, the most influential gin scene in the world right now. And 4 Pillars has been a big part of that. We've been named the world's leading gin producer now 3 times by the International Wine and Spirits Comp in London, 19, 20, and 23. So just an extraordinary sense of acknowledgement for what is happening in this country in gin.
Okay, so that's 2024. This is 4 Pillars Gin. Now, you're a co-founder, which means it starts very small. You co-found it with Stuart Gregor and Cam McKenzie. But at 2024... I imagine other people have bought in, or are you fully out of it? What's the state of play? Have you sold any or part or all of the business, which is 4 Pillars Gin?
Yeah, so look, as you alluded to, it got bigger than we expected, quicker than we expected, right? So when we started, if you went and bought a bottle of gin over $70 in a bottle shop, back in 2013, 6 out of 10 times that was a bottle of Hendrick's. It's 60% of the market. 4 Pillars sold more gin than Hendrick's in Australia in 2021. So we were exporting to 30 countries worldwide. We were the top 3 selling gin in airports in Sydney, Melbourne, International, in Changi in Singapore. So we'd got pretty big, pretty global, and we started to sort of outgrow our ability to sort of take it to the next level. So we took some investment from Lion, big brewer. Everyone knows Lion, Stone and Wood, 4X, 2Es. They picked up 50%. They stayed quietly in the background. They put some money in the business so we could expand our distillery home. We actually opened a beautiful home in Surrey Hills in Sydney because of their investment. And then in 2023, they took out the rest of the business. So I still work in the business, but I've gone from being a co-owner to just a humble employee.
Okay, can I ask this question? Only if it's public knowledge, because our listeners will be saying, tell us how much. What was the sale? What was it worth to you? Are you able to share that?
In between.
It was
okay. You just nod.
It was yeah. I've played this game. It's all a negotiation now. And
higher, lower.
Look, what I'll say is we took on 20. It was always going to be a money hungry business, right? Because this isn't a digital business. Like if you're doing this new segment, the business, you'll have people on here in the next few months who've built like a little digital business, piece of software, not any cost. We had to go and buy the world's most expensive kettle, like a beautiful gin-making machine called a still. We bought one from Christian Karl in Germany. That was a lot of money to land. We knew that we needed kind of custom glass. We needed everything to be at that level of luxury and quality from day one. We need to show people that Australia was taking gin seriously. So we had to bring a bunch of investors on. So the best answer to your question is we gave the 20, 30 people who believed in us before we'd even made a drop of gin, we gave them a good day.
Your co-founders, Stuart and Cam, how did this come about? Did you know them before you moved to Australia? Were you friends with them?
So it started in two different days and 2 different years. For me, it started with lunch, which is how everything with Stu starts, back in 2012 in Surrey Hills. But for Stu and Cam, it started back in 99. So Cameron he always likes to remind us, not was an Olympian.
Yes,
he
is.
ran just about fast enough to make the 4x400 squad in Atlanta in 96.
So he's quick.
He's quickish. Look, I would like to make the point. Yeah. I'd like to make the point that he never won anywhere near as many medals running as he has making gin.
Oh, okay.
But look, no, he was pretty awesome, and the Australian team, I think they ranked 10th, and that was the Olympics. So like Michael Jordan, it was a pretty sort of pedigree 400 field. They made the semis. They ran 10th. He comes back. He's running even faster, He gets put on like an Olympic scholarship, like a business placement that's basically not going to ask him to do any work, so he can train every day, get ready for Sydney. He's the fastest 400-metre runner in Australia at that point, and they put him in the wine industry. And his line manager is this guy, Stu Gregor, and day one, he's like, what am I supposed to do with this athlete?
So Cam had no idea about alcohol.
I think he had an idea. But I think he had focus. And within 24 hours, I think the focus was lost.
Okay.
Stu takes him for lunch. They never come back. Cameron never makes his Olympic dream again. He never becomes the 2-time Olympian that makes you legend.
Yeah.
But he stayed in the wine industry, and so they went their separate ways. Stu is this extraordinary. He's got a great business brain, but he's also just got this great ability to sort of open doors and make opportunities happen, meet everyone, know everyone. He starts a public relations firm. He reckons the big problem in Australian wine is not the wine. The wine's awesome, that the wine industry doesn't tell its stories well. So he goes off and goes, okay, I'm going to help tell stories better. Cam stays in production operations. He works all around the industry. They played together a bit, making a bit of wine, but never took it too seriously. And when I had that lunch with Stu in 2012, the little thought was in both their heads of maybe next time it's not wine, maybe it's gin, and maybe we need a third wheel.
How did you know Stu? What's the connection there?
Oh, LinkedIn. Like all great is the Tinder for business.
So they were looking for someone. They were looking.
No, I think he honestly he was actually looking for someone to help him out with his PR agency. We sort of met, had a lot in common. We're both Man United fans. I can see the Instagram's about to light up. We're both Man U fans. We both sort of shared a view about how brands were getting built. Remember, this is 2012, so this is just after social media has changed the way that brands can interact, they can advertise, businesses can get built. It's a very early time in the stuff that we all take for granted now. Okay. And so he said, well, can you come and help me out with the agency? And then about 6 months into that, he's like, let's have dinner with my mate Cam.
Oh,
and then it gets going.
Why gin, though? Why gin? Why not whiskey?
Sorry,
Why not
Brian.
tequila?
Brooksy just told me Instagram, it's YouTube. We're doing this one for YouTube. So you'll get to see the whole chat on YouTube.
They love Man United on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, go back to you.
Yeah, why gin? Was there
the two boys were huge gin fans.
Right.
I had, and I suspect this may resonate with some people listening, but I should have a trigger warning on this. I had a really bad night, age 19, on gin. It's just pint glasses of Gordons with like flat Schweppes, one sad little ice cube swimming in the top. There's also someone who's like, don't put too much ice in. I don't want it diluted. Like a 3-day-old dried out husk of lime, and it was a gin that repeated on me. Put it that way. And so for about 5 years, I didn't drink gin. Came back to it with some mates. And for me, gin was always this kind of refreshing drink. But after one gin and tonic, that classic London Dry, Gordon's Beefeater, Tanqueray, big pine aromas, because gin is juniper, right? It's distilled juniper. If there's
What's juniper?
Juniper's a berry. It's kind of from a little conifer that you find a lot around the Balkans, Macedonia, Kosovo, very stable places, so easy to access. And if you're distilling juniper, it's gin. If you're not distilling juniper, it's weird vodka. But gin is juniper, so classic London Dry, very juniper heavy. Good London Dry smells like a pine forest. Bad London Dry smells like Pine Clean. It was never really my thing, but it is, James Bond was wrong. A classic martini is gin, not vodka.
Yeah.
It's stirred, not shaken. And so it is this classic spirit. And I think Stu and Cam They have better palates than me, frankly. They're more sophisticated when it comes to booze than me. I mean, they're older than me. But so I think for them, gin was kind of the epitome of what a great spirit could be. But as we were saying before, Australia wasn't doing gin.
Yeah.
Tassie was doing whiskey. There was this little whiskey movement happening in Tasmania with, great brands like Lark and Sullivan's Cove and Hellier's Road. But gin hadn't sort of ignited. So I think for them, it was like vodka's for kids, whiskey's happening in Tasmania. Gin's the spirit the world needs. Australia should be this great place to make gin because gin.
Do we have juniper here?
We don't have much juniper. It was actually one of the first big decisions we made. We said, look, we're going to make modern Australian gin. Like, why would you make London dry gin here in Australia? There's a lot of good London dry. We think modern Australia is more flavourful, more open, more citrus, more spicy. It's Asia, it's the Mediterranean. Let's distill that into a gin. The juniper we got from overseas because we wanted to be able to build a brand that could scale, and the only way we could access quality juniper at scale was imported. The juniper we have here, it just doesn't grow well.
Yeah, right.
Small amounts of not great juniper. So we said, look, the Australian ingredients will be lemon myrtle, Tassie pepperberry leaf, fresh citrus. Like, we've got the most unbelievable fresh citrus. We made a gin 2 years in using Shiraz grapes, Yarra Valley Shiraz grapes soaked in gin. So let's lean into the things that Australia can give us. We make a gin with fresh olive oil and olive leaf from Cobram Estate. So we use things that Australia has in abundance. So juniper, no, but the other ingredients, yes.
Can I ask you this? So if we go back to the start, first and foremost, when is the start?
So we talk in 2012. We get serious in late 2012. Stu and Cam go on a fact-finding. That was air quotes for those listening on radio. Fact-finding mission to the US, which was clearly a junket, which was nice. We paid thirds, but they went halves on the junket.
Right.
They drove down. They hired a convertible. They drove down from Seattle to LA. They visited about 30 different distilleries. They came back. They're like, okay, we've got to do this. The Americans are doing gin in such an exciting way. We're more of a gin culture than them. We had to solve a few problems, like how to raise cash to do it. There's a big challenge in this country around excise. We pay too much tax on our spirits.
That was my question.
Yeah.
If you distill it here, is it the same tax as if you import it?
It's worse, right? Because you are carrying all of the costs of production.
Wow.
You're carrying every cost here, but you're then still sending. So if you go and buy a bottle of 4 Pillars Rare Dry, so to finish the answer,
Correct.
December 2013, we launch our first product, 4 Pillars Rare Dry Gin. It's not London Dry, it's Rare Dry. It's fresh oranges, it's got spice, it's got citrus. It smashes a great gin and tonic with a nice big wedge of orange, distilled with orange, might as well garnish with the same thing. Put away the cucumber. Hendrix fans, pick up the orange, we go with that. If you go and buy that bottle today, it's still the best gin we make. $75 retail. If you're in Dan Murphy's, Vintage Cellars, Liquorland, you might find it $68, $69 on special. Best part of $30 of that is going to go straight to the tax man.
Wow.
It is insane. We pay over $100 per pure litre of alcohol, the third highest excise in the world. That same bottle of gin in America, fly to LA, you'll pay less than $1 in tax. So we are getting absolutely rinsed on tax, and it does mean that it's incredibly hard for this industry in this country, which should be one of the great industries for our regions, one of the great industries for export, to actually get up over that hurdle. So that was a challenge that we had to kind of lean into and go, okay, we've got to be able to get it to sufficient scale, not because we want to sort of big note around town and be big for the sake of it, because you've actually got to make this thing viable.
Wow.
What would the tax be if you distilled it overseas and brought it in?
Like the tax is the
same?
same, but my point is, if you're distilling overseas, you're not carrying in this country all the costs of production, operation. You're just pretty much shipping product in, paying your tax, and away you go.
Wouldn't that be better for the bottom line, doing it that way, though? Using our ingredients?
Oh, for them, maybe, but we're trying to make great Australian gin.
Okay.
We've been talking, Matty, throughout the week about who's going to be the Rookie of the Year, and there's great stories about youngsters who started well and straight away. Daly Cherry Evans, Alex Johnson, first ever season, they win the premiership. You guys start at the back end of, well, close enough to 2013. Within 4 months, am I right in saying that you're collecting awards?
So 4 months in, we had this. I mean, it was a great day. It was a real, in hindsight, it was a huge kind of sliding moments, sliding doors day, right? So we're 4 months in, as you say. Yeah, the brand's going well. We're sort of ranged nationally in Dan Murphy's, or in bars, in retailers, all that stuff. And then we get this email overnight from San Francisco. We have won a double gold medal at the World Spirits Comp. That meant every judge in the competition gave it gold. And bear in mind, at that stage, there's only one category for gin, and it was London Dry. So most of the gins in that competition would have tasted like a pine tree. And here was this Australian gin, all citrus, orange aromas. We think it's probably going to get thrown out. Every judge gives it a gold. There are only 9 gins in the world that year. around the world that win a double gold.
Within 4 months.
Within 4 months. So it was this extraordinary kind of affirmation of what we were trying to do, that yes, Australia can make world-class gin, different gin, and it's not just us who are going to appreciate it, it's potentially got an audience.
Chatting to Matty Jones, co-founder of Four Pillars Gin, top of the class in the world. Matty, with those competitions, to be judged with a gold medal, how do they judge those? Are they blind tasting? Are they? How does that work? So there's no labels, and they just
correct. Same as a wine tasting, right? You have. In fact, my co-founder Stu Greger, he now chairs judging competitions for the Royal Easter Show, because he is absolutely committed to sort of elevating knowledge in the spirits industry broadly. But much the same as wine, blind tastings, you'll be judging the contemporary gin bracket, and you're judging the London Dry gin bracket, and you have 10, 20 gins put in front of you, and you've got a much more expert palate than me, and
yes.
you're sniffing and tasting and making your notes and scoring points and finding faults and all of that stuff. So
Wow.
fully blind. No labels, no branding helps with that. It is just on flavour and quality.
What's the demographic of who drinks Four Pillars gin?
Broader every year.
Is
So,
it?
there's that cliche, right? That gin is sort of, it was the Queen Mother's favourite tipple. It was kind of your nana's drink.
Yeah.
And it was true for a long time, but something really changed in the 2000s, this sort of resurgence of classic cocktails, Negronis, martinis, sort of great simple cocktails with gin at the heart. So now if you walk into Four Pillars Distillery in Hillsville, or you walk into our lab in Surrey Hills, and you threw a rock in there, you'd as likely hit an 18-year-old as an 80-year-old. It's a really broad piece. So probably 25 to 55 is the core. But anyone of drinking age now, great gin and tonic, gin and soda, Negroni. Yeah. It's not cheap juice, but it's good, and flavour wins.
What was the idea behind Hendrix and Cucumber? Was that just trendy?
No, you know what?
Celebrity?
Massive credit to Hendrix, right? They were really the people who sort of shook the tree a bit and said gin can be more than just London Dry. It can be a little bit more delicate, a little bit more expressive. They actually used two stills. They distill cucumber in one and rose in the other. So cucumber and rose are kind of the signature botanicals that they layer on top of the juniper. And so they were smart enough to go, well, again, like what you distill with is what you should garnish with. And cucumber was a great way to show everyone in the bar that you ordered the expensive gin. You don't want people to miss the fact that you paid $12 for your G&T. So that big flag of cucumber worked for the product, but it worked for the brand as well.
Matty Jones, co-founder of Four Pillars Gin. You're also co-founder of our segment named The Business, right? So you've started it off as... Now, we've left so much on the table here, how you got into hand sanitizer, all these stories around what happened through COVID, and it goes on and on and on. But I guess you can read all of that in the book that you've released. It's coming out.
You're a triple threat here.
Yeah, Lessons from Gin Business, the Four Pillars way, travels around sharing the story of Four Pillars. Matty Jones, unfortunately, we've got to go. And I dare say, just before we go, are you a Wrexham fan?
Do you know, I'm watching the show. I'm a Man United fan, and, thick and thin, you never change your team. But I have great admiration for what those boys are doing in Wrexham. It's pretty cool.
We've got great admiration for what you've done here today. As Brooksy said, this chat, give him a wave, Matty. We're on YouTube, so you can catch us on YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube if you've missed that. Matt Jones, co-founder of the Four Pillars Gin, world-acclaimed, world leader. Thanks for being on the Run Home with Joel and Fletch.
Thanks, gents.
Thank you, Matthew.